Hello, welcome to The Update. I'm Susie Thompson. Thousands of athletes from more than 150 nations have packed into Stade de France for the Paralympics closing ceremony. Australia's flag bearers James Turner and Lauren Parker were some of the last to march in the parade, followed by the US, who will host the 2028 Games, and this year's host, France. Australian athletes are returning home with 18 gold medals, 17 silver and 28 bronze. The Queensland opposition will introduce a child sex offender registry if the party wins government in October. The proposed registry would be known as Daniel's Law, named after Daniel Morecambe, who was abducted and murdered on the Sunshine Coast in 2003. Premier Stephen Miles says he's spoken with leaders in WA and SA about similar schemes there. Findings from a landmark Royal Commission into defence and veteran suicide will be handed to the Governor-General today after more than 3 years of inquiry. The final report contains 122 recommendations aimed at improving health and wellbeing for serving and former Defence Force personnel. Veterans Affairs Minister Matt Keogh says the government welcomes the findings.
The Royal Commission has been operating for over 3 years. They've heard some harrowing stories, and we're very much looking forward to receiving those recommendations so we can crack on with providing a better future for Defence personnel, veterans and families.
Typhoon Yagi has made landfall in northern Vietnam. It's being described as one of the biggest storms to hit the country in a decade. The weather system has now killed at least 24 people across 3 countries. Social media companies could be fined if they allow children under the age of 14 access to Facebook and TikTok. South Australia is leading the charge, releasing draft legislation that requires tech giants to have parental consent before teenagers can sign up. Premier Peter Malinauskas says in some instances, these services can do great harm to young people.
Exempting social media services that have a positive impact on young people, facilitate healthy engagement in an educational context or a social support context, but at the same time, banning social media platforms that we know are doing great harm.
Sport and entertainment are next. In sport, the Knights have nabbed the 8th and final spot heading into the NRL Finals Series. They'll travel to Townsville this weekend to clash with the Cowboys. Newcastle claimed its place in the final series with a dominant 14-6 win over the Dolphins. The Brisbane Lions will get a clearer idea of Jack Payne's injury today. The defender hobbled from the ground in their AFL elimination final win against Carlton. And in entertainment news, Kendrick Lamar has been named to take to the stage for the Super Bowl halftime show in New Orleans. And Pope Francis has delivered Holy Mass in Papua New Guinea, calling for an end to tribal violence. The pontiff spoke to a crowd of thousands in the capital of Port Moresby as part of his 12-day tour of Southeast Asia. And that is the latest from the Nova podcast team. We'll see you later on for another update. I'm Susie Thompson.